So this video is for Southern California buyers. And the reason it's for Southern California buyers is because in every single state that I do business in, including California, Southern California is the only area I see this practice. And as a buyer, you need to be aware of it. If you're selling a house in Southern California, you also need to be aware of it because it can harm both of you. So what am I talking about? Cross-qualifying, okay? So let's talk about what that is. If you're new to the channel, I'm a lender licensed in 48 states. Yes, I do a lot of business in California. So let's talk about cross-qualifying. Basically, it works like this. In Southern California, it's super common for the listing agent to ask for what's known as desktop underwriting when you submit your offer. What desktop underwriting is it's the keys to your financial kingdom. It says what your debt to income is. It says how much money you have in your bank accounts. It is every single piece of information that they need to negotiate against you, the buyer. Yeah, And look, we'll see it sometimes where they don't even tell you, right? You're the buyer. Like I will legitimately have the real estate agents emailing me saying, hey, can you send over Jane's DU? We need her bank statement and her pay stubs. And I'm always like, absolutely not. I'm not gonna send you my client's personal information, right? There's a variety of issues here, guys. First of all, a real estate agent should not be reviewing your financial documents. They are not trained or licensed, nor do they have any of the security protocols that are required for it, okay? Secondly, why would you give the listing agent all the tools to negotiate against you when you're buying a house? That's it, guys. Like, look, and there's different reasons that you see listing agents do this. And, some of them are doing it because they want to negotiate. Some of them are doing it because they've been burnt by bad lenders. So they want to make sure that the lender's actually done their job. And some of them are doing it because what they'll do is they'll say, you have to get cross-qualified with my preferred lender. Okay, guys, let me help you with this. The preferred lender works for that listing agent and they're totally gonna be telling them everything about your financial situation, okay? There's very few lenders that wouldn't give them the details that they need to leverage you. But some of the agents they don't even know how to use it to leverage you. They're just trying to get their preferred lender business because their preferred lender may pay for their marketing. There was actually a CFPB action recently against a lender. Guess what they were doing? They were paying a real estate agent to require a cross-qualification. That's right. So every time the real estate agent put on a listing, you need to cross-qualify with XYZ Mortgage, and someone called them, they would pay that real estate agent. Why? Well, because they were trying to get the client. And sometimes the listing agents would say, well, if you use my lender, then your offer will get accepted. Okay, now if you're a seller, you're like, well, wait, like I am cool if they're using this to my benefit. They're not always, and that's the fun part about all of this. So the National Association of Realtors actually have a huge thing about cross-qualifying and how the real estate agents should never be seeing any of the financial information. If they're requesting it, it actually is a prohibited practice. Number two, the only time a cross-qualify can be required is if it's the seller themselves requesting it. How many times do you guys think the sellers in Southern California even know this is happening? They probably don't, right? And then if they do you think the agent's telling them the quality of the lender that they're requiring this cross-qualification with? Yeah, and you guys may be like, well, Jen, it's probably a really good lender. Sometimes it is, guys. Sometimes there's really good lenders and the listing agent's leaning on them to make sure the deal's gonna close. But that's not really what we see a lot of. I've started getting, I don't want to use the word, what would I use? I'm just at an age now where I'm just not going to play games. So I look up the people now. because we fully underwrite every single pre-approval. That's what lenders should do, okay? So when one of my clients writes an offer, they're fully underwritten, okay? The underwriters already said it's good. And so they'll be like, oh, but we need the cross. No, you don't. No, you don't, and 9 out of 10 times, once the listing agent knows they've been fully underwritten, they'll look at my reviews, they're like, okay, we're fine. But that one doesn't. Yep, I'll look up who their preferred lender is. We had one recently. The house is still on the market, and this is why I'm saying it can help sellers too. Buyer was fully underwritten. The listing agent was saying we needed a cross qualification. We told that lender everything we had done in terms of they're already fully underwritten, they're approved, here's a link to About Us, here's how many loans we've closed, blah, blah, blah. And the lender's like, no, I need this and this and this. I looked up the lender. The lender closes less than 3 loans a month. 3 loans a month. How is that lender going to be a better gauge of how many loans close when in 2023 I closed over 500? Yeah, 3 a month, right? So why is the listing agent pushing to this person? Well, it's easy, guys. Go to Zillow, see who the preferred lender is, right? If Zillow, you look at an agent and they have a preferred lender, that preferred lender is paying a portion of that agent's marketing. Go on social media, like it's all out there to see, and it's a RESPA violation. But that's why we see a lot of this. So how can it harm the seller? Well, guys, that house is still on the market. Does the seller even know that offer ever came in? Right? Because the agents are putting this level of gatekeeping at the front where offers, like the way it's supposed to work in real estate is that if you write an offer, it is supposed to be presented to the seller, rain or shine. That is not what we always see happening, right? And also, if you're telling the seller, oh, I've got my lender checking these all out, and your lender sucks, right? You may say no to a good offer and yes to a bad one. Or you may say no to a better offer for you, but yes to one where that lender's doing the deal. It's so corrupt. And seriously, the entire United States, Southern California is the only place we see it. So I'm bringing it up to you guys for a couple reasons. If you're shopping in that market as a buyer, you need to do this. Number one, with your lender, you need to say, I do not give you permission to give my documents to anyone else at any time outside of your organization. Period. Because I'll have it where maybe it'll be a real estate agent we don't work with a lot, and they'll be like, why won't you just send their pay stubs and stuff? And I'm like, because that's not what you do. Like, that's a security issue. Are you kidding me? If someone was sending my bank statements and pay stubs to some rando, and that's a funny thing, like the lender I was just talking about had a Gmail account. You're sending my stuff on a Gmail account? The guy doesn't even have, how do I even know this is legit? No one's telling me and I'm the buyer and my information's being floated around? That's the thing, guys. That is some of the stuff that's happening is the agents are like, well, don't bother the client. Lender, just send their documents over. And they are. Not all of them, but there's definitely lenders who will send your documents to the listing agent without talking to you. So if your identity gets stolen, right, which who knows, right? Who's vetting all these people that are getting your sensitive financial information, right? You wouldn't even know where it came from because your lender just sent your stuff without talking to you. So really make sure that you're telling your lenders, I do not want you sending out any of my information without talking to me. And then if they come to you and they say, hey, you want this house, they want these of your documents, you need to think about A, who is the person receiving my documents? And B, are you comfortable with this? Do you want to write an offer on a house and have the listing agent use your information against you? It's like playing poker with your cards showing your opponent. Why would you ever do that? And that's the thing. And sometimes people go, well, it's the only way to get the house. No, it's not. I can tell you, I do not give out buyer's documents. I will not give DU. If the buyer calls me and says, Jen, I really want this house. I really want them to have the DU, I'll send it to the buyer. And if they want to send it, that is their right. If they want to give the seller their pay stubs and their bank statements, they can do that. But there is no way. And I mean, look, that's the thing. Like, from a company perspective, we can't be sending out your personal information and putting you guys at risk. That's crazy. It's just crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. So you want to make sure you tell your lender you do not want them sending out your information. You want to make sure that if you're looking at a house where this is required, you're talking to your agent about if you're comfortable with it. You know, a lot of times if your agent pushes back, if you have a good lender, if you've been fully underwritten, a lot of times they can push back and that will be fine. Sometimes I've had it where like I literally just call the cross-qualifying agent and cross-qualifying lender, excuse me, and I talk to them. And look, if it's a good lender doesn't want all of your stuff. They really don't. They're not trying to take the deal. They're not trying to leverage against you. They're just trying to make their real estate partner happy by saying it's a good deal. So, you know, we've had some of those where we literally call, we talk to them for 5 or 6 minutes, and they're like, okay, cool, I'll tell them everything's okay. Okay, you know, I'm not telling them how much money you have. I'm not telling them how to leverage against you, okay? And what's so interesting to me is that in Southern California, a lot of the agents doing this don't understand that what they're doing is actually a huge issue and they could end up getting sued over it. It's that simple, because beyond the fact of, you know, are they trying to leverage the buyer? You know, what are the privacy issues at work here? What is the security issues at work? Because sometimes we'll see MLS. MLS is what the realtors look at, right? With the houses where it says, with your offer, please email, and it will list like all the buyer's documents and it's going to the realtor's Gmail. What? What? Like, this is such a breach of everything in lending, and it's just crazy to me and real estate that it hasn't been totally shut down. But I think the regulators have been distracted. But I gotta say, with the big NAR lawsuit, this is gonna get cracked down. So if you're a real estate agent doing this, let me just help you real quick. I would strongly advise you stop unless the seller is requesting this and you have it in writing from the seller. You're putting yourself at risk. Seriously. And for buyer's agents who are emailing the lenders, having the lenders send documents without talking to the buyers, guys, you're putting yourself at risk. You're putting your buyer's security at risk. You're putting the lender's security at risk. Like, this is not normal, right? And in Southern California, because it's a bubble, everyone's like, well, this is how you do it. This is how you get a house. And it's like, no, 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 guys. This is a weird Southern California thing that hasn't been cracked down on yet, okay? So really be aware, you know, figure out as a buyer what you're comfortable with. If you're selling a house, right? If I was selling a house in Southern California, if I was selling a house anywhere, I am a lender. I would not require a cross qualification. If I had multiple offers and some of them were, you know, I'm going to be looking at the price, I'm going to be looking at the terms, and I'm going to be looking at who the lender is and if the buyer's been fully underwritten. That's what I'm going to be looking at, right? You know, so the whole cross qualifying thing is just, it's very interesting, you know, especially when I look up the numbers. And I had one that just made me laugh a couple years ago because, you know, the mortgage lender was the woman's cousin, and he literally had closed 2 loans in a year, and she was forcing everyone to get qualified with him. My buyers were like, no, forget it. Like, why am I going to give them the keys to the kingdom? And the last thing that everyone needs to think about on this is, let's say there are multiple offers, right? You could be discriminated against. That's right. It's opening you up to discrimination. Let's say that I've got you fully underwritten, but your debt to income's higher. But I have you fully underwritten. You're already approved. I can get you the loan. Someone who is just reviewing these, they could look at yours and go, oh, higher debt to income than this one, and think this one's a better offer, even though this one's already solid. So really, guys, be aware of what's going on out there. You know, it's It's just the only place in the country that I see this, and you don't have to do it, but you do need to know that your lender could be sending your docs without your permission. So you want to hit this up front. And when your real estate agent is saying this is the only way to get the house, you have to go, well, wait, I'm already fully underwritten. Can my lender call this person's lender? Do some pushback, because I'm telling you, when I play poker, I don't show my cards to my opponent. So I hope this was helpful. Sorry, Southern California guys, that you are the ones going through this. I am hoping that this ends soon, but if you are, at least now you have your eyes wide open. Questions, comments, need help getting a fully underwritten pre-approval, please reach out. We've got you covered, and we're never gonna send your docs out. Thanks for watching.